right, race fans, we are bringing you here episode 54, car 54, where are you? Is that kind of how that works? Of the One to Go show. And I'm Ryan Aho. That's Bert Layton. Bert, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Let's hurry up and get the show done so we can see the end of the National 100 in Alabama.
Yeah, it's still not over.
I think it's still going on. I think it's still going on.
100 laps, 785 parade laps, and like 652 cautions. It was absolutely nuts, right? And I think they had 5 late model classes, but we'll get to that in just a second. Beforehand, we'll talk about something positive, like I'm positive that the engines that Zuli's race engines builds are far better than a crate. Nothing against my crate friends out there, right? But the fact is, he built some good engines. This is a time of year, off-season up in northern Minnesota, off-season in Wissota country. Get a hold of Frank. He'll do you right. He builds engines for champions. He's been doing it for a long time. Give him a call. Now, with that said, let's roll into that one first. I was going to talk about Charlotte, but, man, we had a couple debacles of events here this weekend. The National 100 down at the East Alabama Speedway. Honestly, I'm looking at that deal, Bert. There's no way I could have raced that event. I couldn't even have been there. I couldn't have done it. They start at 10 o'clock in the morning. Hell, I don't even like to get out of bed that early. So I don't even know if I could have. The draw cutoff must have been at like 7 in the morning. There's like no way. I would have had to stay up from the night before just to make that happen. So that would have been off limits to this guy. 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, 11 classes. I mean, I'm surprised Puka didn't make the trip down there. If he would have known about that, he probably would have flown down. What do you think? I think he probably went to that deal.
Probably. He loves as many divisions as he can see.
And he said he likes crate late models. And I mean, hell, they had 4 classes of them, right? They had 5 late model classes. They named them all hobby stocks and this and that and the other. But let's be honest. I think they had a 601 crate, a 602, a 604. I think they had a steelhead late model deal. And then they had, like, the open late models, right? I'm like, the fans down there must be thoroughly confused going, what in the world? They all look the same. Why are they all in different races? It was crazy. But I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever seen that many parade laps in my entire life. Ever. I mean, it was insane. Every time there was a yellow, it was like a minimum. There had to have been at least 10 parade laps every single yellow. And getting into the late model feature, like the real late model, super late models, they had a yellow. There's pit guys out on the track, right? They stop. There's people out on the track. They're looking at tires. I'm like, every yellow, they stop on the front straightaway like it's 1980. I'm like, what in the hell are they doing? I mean, you ever seen anything like that?
No, I've never seen anything like that. I mean, I started watching it Saturday night because I thought that's when the main event was going to be. So I'm watching, and they had like some hobby stocks out there, and then late models came out for hot laps, and I thought, well, that's kind of different. And then they had some more heat races, and then all of a sudden they had opening ceremonies in the middle of all these heat races, and it was just like division after division of crate late models, and I thought, what's going on here? And but yeah, I mean, then they started racing at 10:30 in the morning on Sunday, and actually I went back onto Flow Racing today to do some research, and the entire program on Flow was like 12 and a half hours.
Again, I mean, I really truly feel bad for Puka that he did not know about this, because like literally I think he's going to put this on his schedule for next year. I'm pretty sure he's probably going to go. I'm not going with him. But he can go down there and enjoy that, because that's just crazy. I mean, I always thought it was too much having 5, 6, 7 classes, but this 11 class nonsense. Now, here's what else is crazy. They got all these classes, Bert, and all these support classes. They're running 50 lap features in the support classes. I'm like, what? I'm like, it was insane. And, we'll get into the late. I mean, it is what it is. There's a lot of racing. But they ran the real late models last, and obviously by then, I mean, you have day racing with that many cars, that many classes, and that many laps. It's rubber, and it wasn't a traditional rubber. Like the whole track was rubber. like the whole track. So now you got 100-lap feature, lots of horsepower, and there was no way. I think, I could be wrong, but I think that every driver lost the right rear tire in the feature. I think that every driver, there might have been one or two that didn't. I don't know that. Maybe Joyner, the guy that won, maybe he didn't. I don't remember if he pulled off or not. But Dale McDowell kind of, Overton broke right away. I don't know what he broke. It was early. He pulled off. I thought he was going to win. He pulls off. And a guy that was impressive early, Sam Seawright, he was really battling for the lead there, and he kind of looked like he might have something, and then he broke something. And didn't they pull his hood off?
Well, yeah, they took his hood off, but right before that, there was a restart, and he banged into the side of McDowell and actually took the lead from McDowell. But then the caution came out, so they went back to the last completed lap. But during that caution, and McDowell pulled up alongside of him and kind of pointed at him. And then it was shortly after that he pulled into the pits, and you thought that maybe it was a tire, but yeah, they took the hood off of the car.
Yeah, that's right. He did do that. And McDowell, I mean, literally, Dale McDowell, one of the most patient drivers I've ever seen. And I figured, and they even, you could see he was in protect mode. He wasn't abusing his stuff, but still with about 8 to go, 10, whatever it was, 8:10 to go. I don't remember. It was so long. But his right rear tire gave up. He started fading back, and then it was just over for him. But then that Joyner, right? Joseph Joyner gets the lead, and then whatchamacallit got by him. Who was that dude? It was Chris Martin got by him. Chris Martin got by him. It was a yellow
Parker
there.
Martin.
Was it Parker Martin or Chris Martin?
Parker Martin.
Parker Martin? Okay. So it was Martin, regardless. And a teenage kid. He's a teenager. Young dude, he got the lead, and he was gone. He had a big lead. And with about 8 to go, that Hyatt, I don't know, what was his first name there, Bert? Hyatt. I don't know these guys. They're all Southern guys. I don't know.
Jason Hyatt.
So Jason Hyatt gets a flat, pulls in the pits, and then with 2 to go on a green and white checkered finish, lap 98, you got to remember there's only a handful of cars on the lead lap at that point, right? So when he went to the back after a flat, he only had to go back to like 8th or whatever. So he's up to 3rd for the green-white checkered. Right away, he disperses of Joyner, and he actually passed. Hyatt got by Martin. Martin slipped up coming off 2 there, and the video that we got here is showing that. But Martin slips up, Hyatt drives underneath, and they come down into turn 3, and Martin's brake pedal went to the floor or something. I don't know. He just drove right through him, dumped him, and Joseph Joyner, which for those of you on Facebook, that's the Hunt the Front team down there. So they're all over Facebook. Hunt the Front, look it up on Facebook. Kind of a neat deal they got going on. He stuck by him for the biggest win of his career, so it was pretty cool. But did you see what happened down in the pits afterwards?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I went back to Flow to see if they had that still on the website. And yeah, there was quite a crowd around the Parker Martin's car, and apparently he never got out of the car. Even when they pushed him back to his pit stall, he stayed in his car for a few minutes after that. But I was watching this last night. I mean, you and I were texting each other, and I went to bed with like 48 laps to go because it's like I got to work in the morning, and this could be till 2 a.m. before they're done with this. And so then I saw the last 2 laps this morning when I was checking things out online, and saw all the excitement. But then during my lunch hour, I went back and watched the last 19 laps. And actually, I mean, Parker Martin was very impressed. I mean, he passed Dale McDowell on the outside. I mean, he was definitely in charge of that race, and he had a fast car. I mean, according to the announcers, his pit crew was telling him to slow down. I mean, because they were afraid that he was going to burn up his tire. And so, I mean, that changed my perspective a little bit about him because, I mean, that was a good racing move that he did.
Mm-hmm.
The last lap, not so much. I mean, because he pushed up in corner 2, that gave Jason Hewitt the opening he needed, and then Parker Martin just drilled him. I mean, there's no other way to put it. But one of the funny things was, and I sent this to you, was, I mean, everybody has a different opinion whether you like a driver or not. And I saw this post on Facebook, and somebody posted that I don't see what the big deal is. The driver pulled a slider on him and then basically came to a stop. And it's like, were you watching the same race?
Well, I tell you what.
So
we'll let the fans. We'll let the fans make the call. You know, I play the clip here, and we'll let the fans make the call. We'll let them kind of determine what they think because, like you said, everybody's got a different opinion. I know what we saw, right? I mean, if you run into the back of somebody, typically that's on you, right? I mean, that's how it works for insurance. I'm thinking that's kind of how it worked there too, and they actually did disqualify him for that for when he dumped him. So, but we'll let the fans kind of determine what they think.
Yeah, they placed him at 23rd.
Yep. So, you know, I tell you, even though that there was some debacle at the end, and I got to be honest, I texted Jeff Krause and I asked if he was related to them guys down there because they're used to that battle royale stuff with Krause Racing. Love you, Jeff, but you know what I'm talking about here. But big win there for Joseph Joyner. You know, if race fans, if you're not familiar with their team, go to Hunt the Front on Facebook and check it out. It's a really cool deal. You know, Bert, any other thoughts there on that race down there?
Well, we should probably mention the announcing a little bit because their announcing is a little bit different than it is up here. I never like to complain about announcers because, you know, they're doing their thing and everybody has their own style. But, you know, I think there was like 15 laps remaining in the super late model feature. So that would have been about an hour and a half into the feature. And one of the announcers said, yeah, this 100 lap feature is moving along pretty quick. And I wasn't quite sure what he meant by that.
Maybe that is quick down there. I'm not really sure. And I am going to be extremely careful about talking smack about an announcer because being that they hand me a mic every once in a while, we'll just say they got an interesting perspective on things. But, it was pretty fun. Now, I've never seen that many flat tires in a single race. That kind of reminds me back of that sprint car race a while back where it's like everybody got a flat tire. I think, was that at Houston's maybe? Where everybody was blowing right rears. It was kind of the same deal there. Flats. But did you notice also that, well, first of all, everybody in the infield, they literally stand on the wall, right? Like they're standing in arm's reach of the race cars. I'm like, I can't believe somebody will get killed. But number two, there's no tire change area. They get a flat tire, they're literally pulling back to their trailer to their pit lift and lifting up the car, and then they wait for them. So that's why there's 802 parade laps. Like they would just wait and wait and wait and wait. I mean, it was unique. It was totally a unique perspective on that one. Now, let's get off that one, you know, and we'll go to what happened slightly before that. And that was over at Charlotte, the last call. Now, man, I'm going to let you kind of talk about, you know, what you saw there first. And then I got a couple of thoughts there myself. But, you know, we'll start with the late models. You know, overall thoughts on the late models. I mean, I don't want to mention any names, but I do know a guy that picked right the first night on the winner. He didn't pick right the second night, though. I did pick Overton to win, and he looked pretty darn good. McCready won night two. But what was your thoughts on the late model racing there at Charlotte?
I mean, it wasn't great racing, and we talked about this on last week's show, that a race there that the prior week was very, very dusty, and that turned out to be what happened when the World of Outlaw late models were there. Tim McCready is one of my favorite drivers, and I think one of the reasons he is one of my favorite drivers is because he's not afraid to say what's on his mind. And they interviewed him. I watched the post-race interviews both nights, and after the first night, you know, he was complaining because he said the track used to be really good there, nice and wide, and he said that it seems like they narrow up they continue to make the corners more narrow, and which makes it tougher to pass at that track. And you know, obviously the dust wasn't good. Then after the second night, he was a little bit more forgiving because he did get the victory. But they asked him about driving through lap traffic, and he said, "Well, you know, it was dusty." And then his comment was, "I don't want to be one of those drivers," meaning he doesn't want to be one of those drivers who complains. But it was tough to see when you got into lap traffic.
It was a debacle. I mean, the clay seems so weird. They put new surface on it. It's kind of like Cedar Lake's clay, where it doesn't really roll up into a cushion. It just turns to powder, and it just blows the marbles up all over the racetrack. Just kind of a really weird surface down there.
Well, it doesn't slick over. It doesn't get that hard, slick surface. It just stays, it seems like it stays kind of powdery and dusty.
Yeah, really gritty. Now, you know, that's a couple of the guys that won, right? McCready and Overton. There was a couple sprint car guys that ran, and, you know, we talked about who's going to do better and whatever. Schatz did better night one. He got fourth. I was impressed. You know, I did not expect Johnny Schatz to roll off the top five in that deal. I was very impressed. Night two, he got like the loaded heat race, right? He got like his heat was stacked, and he bobbled right away, didn't make the show, and so it's hard to judge. So he had overall between him and Larson, he had the best finish, but Larson made the show both nights. First night he went out, and I think he DNF'd. He either ran in the back or he DNF'd, but on the score sheet he was pretty deep, and he got sixth, I believe, the second night. So overall, I guess you can look at it. Larson made both shows. Schatz made one, but Schatz had a top five. So, you know, I'd call that pretty even. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I had, my prediction was that Larson would have a better showing than Schatz was. And then after the first night, when I looked at the results, I saw he finished fourth. I was like, oh, okay, I have to apologize for doubting his driving ability in a late model. I was somewhat basing my opinion on a couple of years ago. He raced in a Dirt Kings race, and he ran like mid-pack. Really didn't impress me too much in the late model, and I was driving against, you know, the local drivers in eastern Wisconsin. So I guess it goes to prove you can't base a decision based on one showing.
Right. I got to give a shout out to Lanny Nichols. I know that he went up and got that car together. He went up to Fargo there, left from Watertown, you know, a week or so ago now, and helped get the engine in, got it running, got everything all dialed in. So shout out to Lanny there. Kind of a cool deal. But, you know, good to see Schatz running well. Now, speaking of Schatz, speaking of Larson, let's roll into the sprint cars, right? Because the championship was over. I mean, honestly, Brandon Shepard had that one a long, long time ago. But the sprint cars was a little bit up for grabs. I mean, Sweet had a pretty big lead. He did seal the deal in the points. He had a good weekend. But what was your thoughts on the sprint car racing?
Well, of the racing that I could actually see, it was it was kind of good. It was really dusty for the sprint cars. It was worse than the late models. You know, I was watching, I didn't watch the entire features as they happened. I watched the highlights of the features on YouTube. And, some of those camera shots mid-race, you could hardly see the cars in the screen at all. And in fact, towards the end of the race in the second night, for the video, they actually went to the drone shot because it wasn't as dusty up in the air.
Yeah, DQ Craig from Alexandria sent a picture or a little video over to Kraus, and he was sitting in the grandstands, and he was like, here's what I can see. You couldn't see the back straightaway, or I don't even know what side of the track he was on, but you couldn't see across it. And that, you know, here's the deal. So the winners, you know, David Gravel, night one, he was the winner night one, which happened to be his third straight win at the dirt track in Charlotte. So he's really good. And not only did he win the first night, he was on the podium again with a third the second night. Sheldon Hodenschild and Schatz rolled out the top three. Schuhart won night two with Sweet and Gravel in the top three. So the people that you expect to be up front were up front. It's just the cream rise to the top, so to speak. But Ryan's rant of the week is this, okay? The World Racing Group is way too political bullshit for this guy, all right? It just is. First of all, they're based out of Charlotte, and I think they're trying to mirror NASCAR. All this political rules, and they're just I just don't think they get it. I really don't. I think the World Racing Group just simply does not understand dirt racing. I think they don't get it. And that's why people say all the time, the Lucas Oil Late Model Series is better than World of Outlaw. I get it. I agree. After this year, I totally agree. I'm on the same page. You know, first of all, they call that end of the year deal a crown jewel. Dude, it's $12,000 to win each night. Ain't no crown jewel. They can call it that because there ain't nobody else racing and they get everybody there, but it ain't a crown jewel. It's $12,000 to win. Why not have your biggest event of the year at the end of the year? That's your finale, championship weekend. Pay some real money, right? You know, World of Outlaws, open up your checkbook. I mean, that shows a joke what they pay at that deal. Terrible. And then they bring it to Charlotte because that's the home of World Racing Group, and they want to bring them home, and they kind of want to give them a racetrack. I mean, if you can't prepare a racetrack any better than that, move that event somewhere. So to anywhere, pick a place that somebody knows what the heck they're doing and have the race there. That is the most embarrassing thing I have ever seen in my entire life. And I am absolutely, I'm going to go on the record and saying this. I am so happy that COVID happened, right? I'm happy because if it wouldn't have happened, that shit would have been televised, right? That would have been on live TV. That would have been horrible because you know, the end of the year race, the dirt track world champ, what is it called? The world finals or whatever? That's usually televised live, right? Isn't that usually live on TV? Can you imagine?
It has been in the past.
Yeah, and I think it was supposed to be this year. I'm not really sure on that, but I'm sure glad it wasn't because that was horrible. Like can you imagine like a non-diehard race fan jumping online and going, you know what? Sprint cars are live on TV. I might as well turn it on and watch it. They'd be like, what the hell is that? Like, I can't even see the racetrack. This is stupid. I thought this was supposed to be exciting and entertaining. I'm glad COVID happened for that reason because nobody had to watch that, you know, unless they actually paid for Dirt Vision and watched it. So that's a good thing because that was a train wreck. That was absolutely terrible. The other thing is this, okay? The week before, so why did they not have this event, right? Because the week before they had a big UMP event with, I don't know, I think they had like 10 classes of cars there, and they changed the whole format of this deal to only have one class each night. Why is that? Right? Because it wasn't because of COVID. It wasn't because the week before they just had a packed house, right? So why couldn't they do it for that deal? That's all on World Racing Group, kind of their political nonsense that they got going on there. So, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of World Racing Group. They're, you know, speaking of the late model deal, remember Austin Kirkpatrick? He looked really good. Like a young kid, looked really good. And he's supposed to start third in the feature on night 2. World Racing Group docked him because he didn't make it to staging on time, so they made him start last. Really? He was there in plenty of time. He might not have been there by their bells at 10-2, and I get it. They say, oh, the rules are the same for everybody. The guy had problems. He was working on his car, though. He had problems under the hood. That's a stupid rule. I mean, there's way too many rules in this crap, right? You go down to that East Alabama race, clearly there's no rules there. It's like a free-for-all. You can do whatever the hell you want. And then you go to the World Racing Group show, and it's nothing but stupid rules, right? The droop rule, right? The not going to staging at the right time rule, the COVID crap. And speaking of that, you know what frustrated me, Bert? When you see people down there talking, right? People talking, there ain't nobody around these people. Nobody around them. There ain't nobody within a mile of them. And you got these people down there that are commentating and all that. This is a World of Outlaw regulated, politicized bunch of nonsense. And they're wearing a freaking mask, talking to themselves. They're literally standing by themselves, talking to the mic with a mask on. It's like, all right, dipshit, seriously? Like, we're all sick of seeing that. You got to figure out who your audience is here, okay? Your audience is a bunch of dirt fans that are sick of seeing that crap. That's just stupid. Now, if you want to wear a mask if you're right next to somebody, great, fine. But for God's sake, I am sick and tired of seeing people wear masks when they're not by anybody. It pisses me off, okay? Literally, okay? I ain't going to get into the election deal because some people are really bitter. Some people are really happy. It is what it is, okay? Life is going to go on regardless of what side you're on. It is, okay? We're going to have racing. It's all going to happen. But quit wearing a stupid mask when you're not around people. I was in Duluth, Minnesota, Bert. I'm driving down the road. I'm at the stoplight. I look left. I look right. There's people wearing masks in vehicles by themselves. It's like, I just wanted to, like, bam, smash into them. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you people? And then I jump on the World of Outlaw Race, and I see these idiots wearing masks down there when they're, like, literally talking to themselves on the mic. I wanted to reach through the screen and just punch them in the face. I mean, it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. So World of Outlaws has gotten to be too much like NASCAR. It just has. It's all politicized garbage, and there's too many rules, and it gives me a headache. And then to top it all off, their end of the year finale was at a complete disaster of a racetrack that's basically ran by it's Charlotte, so it's a NASCAR-owned racetrack, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they got to get their crap together. If they don't, there ain't going to be a World of Outlaw late model series because there's way more people jumping into the Lucas Oil deal, and all of the good guys in World of Outlaws are kind of quitting. So there's going to be like 3 cars. I'm just saying. So they better they better get it together for 2021. What is your thoughts?
Well, I wish you would stop trying to straddle the fence and just let us know how you really feel.
I got to sugarcoat stuff, man. I just can't throw it out there because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Yes.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, unfortunately, with the COVID thing, with the mask thing, it's like, people will complain if you're not wearing a mask, even if there's nobody around you, and it's just to show that we care. Basically, is what that is. So yeah, you can wear that mask for the rest of the show, because I don't want to get COVID through the lines here.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, people have to. It's their way of showing that they care, and it's the political correct world. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, COVID is a serious thing, and numbers are higher now. And I don't know what the answer is, but yeah, I mean, wearing a mask when there's nobody else around, I don't quite see the point in that. I mean, where I work, we need to wear a mask when we walk around the building, but when you're in your office by yourself with the door closed, we don't have to wear a mask. And it's unfortunate.
Yes,
unfortunately, I don't see it ending anytime soon, unfortunately.
I'm with you, and I agree totally. Again, like clearly, I do have a mask, okay, and I don't really. I mean, do I like wearing a mask? No, but I will, right? If I go into a gas station, they say got a mask. I don't have an issue with that. You're around other people, wear a mask. It is what it is. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. I don't care, okay. But seeing people wear a mask just for show, right? When there's nobody around, that annoys me. That kind of pisses me off. I mean, people ain't that stupid. I mean, come on, So that's enough of that. That's enough of that. That race, it was a train wreck. Congratulations to the champions. Brad Sweet 2 in a row. That's cool.
I want to say one thing though. You didn't see any masks at the Alabama racetrack.
You did not, nor teeth. You didn't see teeth either. Oh, did I say that out loud? That might be on the air. Sorry if you're from the South. So let's roll into some mod racing, and we can tie some late model racing in with it. USMPS Championship Weekend, RPM Speedway down in Texas. Night 1, they actually ran Thursday, Friday, Saturday, okay? And night 1, a local down there, Jack Sartain, I believe is how they pronounce his name, from 8th. He got her done in the USMTS mods. But rolling into town after the last call at Charlotte, none other than the B5 Express of Brandon Shepard.
And I have to get down on my knees and sincerely apologize to Brandon Shepard for doubting his modified driving abilities. I mean, I knew he could drive a modified, but I wasn't necessarily real impressed with the showing last weekend or, the previous weekend. But yeah, this last weekend, he definitely showed that he can drive a modified by winning 2 straight mod races there. I will say, though, he's still more exciting to watch in a late model, but he can win in a modified also. He won rather easily. I mean, the first race that he won, he was battling Terry Phillips early in the race. And then it looked like he hit a rut and his car bounced around. And then it looked like it broke his rear end because his rear end looked cockeyed. And eventually he pulled off the track. There was a lot of smoke coming from a tire rub, and I think that's from the rear end getting cockeyed after he broke it. So he pulled into the pits, and Shepard won that race. In his post-race interview, Shepard said that was too bad that happened to Phillips, but he thought that he still had the car to get by him, so he was still confident he was going to win either way.
And last week in that USRA weekend, the first 2 nights he was so-so. The third night he started looking pretty good, though. He won the B from deep. He came from the back of the feature and was just outside the top 5. So he started looking good, and then he goes down and he runs against, basically the same group. A lot of the USMTS guys were at that USRA show, and to double up in that deal, that guy can flat out wheel a race car.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed, and I'm also impressed. He's really humble. He's quiet. He's laid back in his attitude. He acts like he's done it before. I like to see excitement and all that, but he's professional. Hell of a race car driver, hell of an accomplishment. Rodney Sanders, of course, it was already done going into the weekend, but he's your 2020 USMTS champion again. I don't know how many he's got, but he's got a few. And another hell of a race car driver, humble guy right there. But yeah, really cool. I wonder how much Brandon Shepard's going to run a modified next year. I thought it was pretty neat that he got into that deal. I hope he runs more shows next year.
Yeah, after I'm not sure which night it was, but the announcers said that this was must have been after the first night. This was his first modified win in 10 years. So, but obviously he's been racing late models, over the last 10 years. But maybe we'll see him in a modified a little bit more next year. If he can win, he can bring some money to a team owner.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I'm just texting with a guy right now, getting some numbers for. We're going to talk about some upcoming events now. So that was kind of the weekend in review. Not a lot of racing going on last weekend, but there was some big stuff that happened. Now coming up this weekend, on Flow Sports, if you go to Flow Racing Dirt on Dirt, they call it the Magnolia State 100, but it's the Cotton Picking 100. Now I don't know if I'm kind of curious about that, Bert. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
Is that another one of them political deals right there? Because the racetrack itself, right? They call it the Cotton Picking 100. It's in Mississippi, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's the name of the race. But you go on Flow and it's called the Magnolia State 100. I'm like, really? We're race car fans. Do they not know their audience? The people watching this are race car fans. We're not a bunch of soft little pussies that are afraid of getting our feelings hurt. Sorry, that's NBA. Okay, that's not racing. Okay, that's just not the way it is. But with that said, Friday, that's good. This is both on Full Racing, by the way. If you want to watch this, if you still need a racing fix, which if you're like me, you do, right? That's why you're watching the show, because you need a racing fix. We're all addicts, right? I'm not afraid to admit it. Okay, so Friday on Flow Racing, it's $4,000 to win for the late models. Saturday, 70 laps, $12,000 to win. Last year's winners, Bert, Lanigan and Marlar won that last year. So it sounds like some pretty darn good drivers go there. I'm thinking, what do you think? Maybe can you see maybe a Madden, Overton? Can you see some of them guys going? What do you think?
Well, this is typically the type of race that Overton does go to this year. That's kind of, I was thinking about this over the last week, from a driver's standpoint, which is better, following a series or picking and choosing which races you go to? Overton's won a lot of money this year, just picking and choosing which races he wants to race in.
Yeah, and he's run a lot of big ones. A lot of big ones.
Yeah. So I would imagine Overton would go there, and some of the other top drivers would go there. Some are probably just, okay, we're done for this year because next year is going to be here in a few weeks.
And it's hard to pick because we don't know who's going and who's not.
Right.
I mean, Lanigan and Marlar, I expect them to be there. I know that Boyd Speedway has something going on, but that's only $5,000 to win. That's the Gobbler. That's over in Georgia, so that's Overton's home turf. Maybe he'll go there. I don't know.
True. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's actually I believe that's on. I'm not sure if that's Friday or Saturday. You have to look at that's on Flow. You'll have to look at that to find it. It's on Dirt. It's on Dirt on Dirt. There's a link. I kind of like what. Speaking of that, I like what Dirt on Dirt did, Bert. When they switched over their live viewing over to Flow Racing, at first, like, they didn't have anything listed. Like, it just says everything's on Flow Racing. You go to Flow Racing, it's kind of like a debacle, like trying to figure out what's what. Well, now, Dirt on Dirt, they kind of fixed that. You can still click on Dirt on Dirt, and it links you over to Flow Racing, but now they have late model races listed. It's kind of neat what they did there. So I'm pretty glad that they did that. But the Fall Nationals, that's Ray Cook's series. They have, I believe it's the Gobbler, they call it, and that's $5,000 to win. And so that's also happening this week. And maybe some of them guys down there, McDowell's going to race somewhere. You're going to see Overton somewhere. Madden's going to be somewhere. So, just keep an eye out. I don't know where they're going to be. Watch on, jump on Facebook and check to see. But there's going to be some pretty good late model racing yet to happen this weekend. I'm excited to jump online and watch it. How about you?
Yeah, I'm excited too. I mean, in Wisconsin, racing's done, so it's nice to be able to get online and still watch some racing. And that's why, even though the races at the East Alabama track were different, it was still good to see racing online and be able to watch racing at this time of the year. So I don't want to complain too much because I don't want the races to disappear, obviously.
At the very least, it was entertaining because I laughed.
Right.
I mean, I'm sitting there laughing. I'm like, what? I mean, like, I'm thinking if that would have been up in Grand Rapids or Hibbing, like, they would have shot all the board members, like, afterwards. I mean, it would have been a bad deal. So it was comical. Now, Puka, this next one's for you, buddy. This one's for you right here, okay? Even though you're not on here with us, I know you're listening. And shout out, best wishes to Puka and his family down there because Heather's going through some struggles right now, health-wise. Of course, they're down getting checked out. So our best wishes, to his family. We want to make sure that, mama needs to be taken care of. So hopefully everything's going good down there. But the biggest paying race of the weekend.
Your favorite models. Division.
Great late models, and Volunteer Speedway. So incidentally, that's Bulls Gap, right? And that's where Ricky Weiss basically is working out of now. Ever since him and Scott Bloomquist broke up, they quit dating. He's over at Bulls Gap. That's he's working out of that shop now. So he ran last weekend. I believe he got second. They had a 2,500 win show. He got second in that deal. But this week, $20,000 to win. It's the Crate Late Model National Championship at the Volunteer Speedway in Bulls Gap. Now, I've looked, and I have not seen anything, Bert, where this is streamed. I have not seen anything online. And I'd actually like to watch it. I mean, if nothing else, I want to see how Ricky does. I mean, he's he's one of our guys, northern guy. I'd like to see how he does in that deal. So I'm really hoping that something pops up here this week. I'd like to watch that online. But yeah, Ricky Weiss got, crate engine in the car. How about that?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he does. And you said that he raced last week in a smaller to win show. But it'll be interesting to see how he does in a bigger show like this because for $20,000 to win, you would think you'd have some of the top crate late model drivers in the area they're racing. So to see how he stacks up against them who have a lot more experience than him in a crate late model.
Yeah, a couple names to kind of keep an eye on to see if they pop up there. Kyle Bronson's been running a crate. He's been doing that maybe the last 3 weeks, maybe 4. Mark Whitener, who was pretty darn impressive in speed weeks in the open late models, he's been running a crate. Yep. Is Cody Overton Brandon Overton's brother? Is that how that is?
I don't know if they're. I'm pretty sure they're related. They may be brothers. You may
Yeah,
be right on that.
I feel like I should know that, but I don't know that. But he runs a crate. You know, he's been running some crate stuff. So that'll be a good deal. 20 grand to win. I mean, let's face it, you're gonna get some good hot rods there. And now we'll jump over to mods, okay? And now this is on racing dirt, okay? So them race the couple late model races we talked about, that's on Flow Racing. On racing dirt this week, big stuff happening out west. Big stuff happening out west. I talked to the promoter of this event, Barry. He said 500 cars registered. Perfect show for Puka. I mean, absolutely perfect show for Puka. They have IMCA stock cars, IMCA sport mods, and IMCA modifieds. And it's I don't know what annual you might have that in front of you, but the Duel in the Desert IMCA deal out in Las Vegas. And fanless deal, I mean, kind of, right? Because they're allowed 10 people per car. Well, let's face it, 500 times 10 is 5,000 people. They get 5,000 people there. They're doing just fine financially, plus the parking fees and all that. That deal's going perfectly fine financially, but it's on racing dirt, and that should be some pretty darn good racing. I know that you have some folks from your area that are heading out there. Why don't you talk about them, and then I'll talk about a couple people that on the national scene are going to be there.
Yeah, this is a huge event for that area of the country where there's not a lot of racetracks. Over the last couple of years, I've interviewed a few Arizona modified drivers, and they always talk about how big this event is, and that, if you're from that area, you have to go to it because there's not as many tracks down in that area. We're kind of spoiled with the number of tracks we have in the Midwest. But yeah, there's a handful of drivers from eastern Wisconsin who have traveled down there to race. I know Mike Whittlestat is down there, Kelsey Hayes. Now I'm drawing a blank.
While you're thinking about that, Bert, I had a brain fart. If you know me, it happens all the time. Like people are just used to it. Incidentally, that is not on Racing Dirt. That's on XR. Okay, that's on XR. That's Barry's deal. I don't know what. I'm so used to Racing Dirt doing the modified stuff. I apologize, but that's on XR is what that's on. So they have. I think if you just type in XR, you'll be able to find it. I think that's what it's called, just XR, and that's what it's on that deal out in Las Vegas, not Racing Dirt. So. My bad.
So, but yeah, like I was saying, there's a handful of modified drivers from eastern Wisconsin who have traveled down there. So, I'll be trying to pay attention to how they do down there. I know Jeremy Christians, he has a provisional for the feature, I believe, because he had the best 2-day finish at the Shawano Speedway 2-day special, and in the IMCA stock car division, and that driver got a provisional in the race. So I'm assuming he's going down there, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be pretty exciting. I mean, I'm a homer. I just am. So Wisconsin's right in between my homes, right? I'm from Minnesota. I now live in Illinois. So Wisconsin's kind of crunched there in the middle. So if they're from our area, I want to see them guys do well there. So I'm excited to kind of keep an eye on that. And a couple guys on the national scene, from what I understand, and I think this is still the case, but rumor has it Scott Bloomquist, right? The Voodoo Child, supposed to be running a modified. Now, the question is, over and under, is he going to make it to all the shows or under? Is he going to be stuck at the casino? I mean, it was pretty easy to get him there. They said, hey, come to Vegas. We're going to let you drive a car. And he saw a casino. So that'll be interesting to see. Do you think he'll hit all the shows, or do you think he'll be stuck at the casino for at least one of them?
Well, I don't know if he'll be stuck at the casino for any of them, but I hope he tries to hit all the shows. I mean, because that's a major draw for the event. People tuning in online and that sort of thing.
And he won that big one in Batesville a few years back. So he knows how to get her on the track. And Brandon Shepard, of course, just got her done in the USMTS stuff. But probably one of the hottest guys in the country that pulls double duty, 20 RT, Ricky Thornton Jr. I'm excited to see how he does. It looks like he's going to be out there And of course, I think um, I would say that he's got to be the favorite to win. I mean, he's in my
Yeah,
mind. Now, another guy I'm
I would
thinking,
agree.
and I haven't confirmed this, but I believe that Jake O'Neill is probably going to be making the trip out there
Okay.
as well. You know, so, but let's face it, 500 cars. I don't know exactly the numbers because they're still in practice. The deal starts in a day or two here, right? We're airing. We're actually filming this show. It's Monday right now, so I think it's a couple days yet before racing happens. 300 at practice, but they got 500 cars registered, so it should be good. You know, tune in, like I said, XR. Tune into XR to catch that racing action because you know if you like IMCA stuff, it's going to be good. Now that leads us, you know, to the last lap, and you know, what do you say? Let's start with speaking of IMCA stuff. Did you see what they got going on in Minnesota?
No, I didn't see that. I see that you have it on our list, but I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Holy cow! So Cliff Sasker, he owns the North Central Speedway in Brainerd. He's also the promoter of the Princeton Speedway. They're having the Land of 10,000 Lakes 10K. It's going to be on IMCA TV. June 24th, 25th, and 26th. He just announced this. This is a big deal. IMCA modified stock cars, sport mods, and they're going to have hobby stocks the first night. IMCA Modsbert, $5,000 to win night one at Princeton, $5,000 to win night one at Brainerd, which would be night two of the series. And then the third night, which is also going to be at Brainerd, $10,000 to win. Now it's the same for the stock cars. It's 5, 5, 10. And then for the sport mods, 2,500, 2,500, 5,000. Holy crap. That dude is flat out throwing some money around. Now, the question I have is this. How many WISSOTA guys are going to get IMCA legal and try to run that show with that kind of money on the line? Do you see some of them guys maybe doing that?
Possibly. Well, I mean, the interesting thing, because you said it's June 20 something. So that would be like a week after the Masters, or within a week to 2 weeks after the Masters. So Clash at the Creek at 141 Speedway, 10,000 to win would be in the middle of that. So there's going to be a lot of big paying races, and you know, one big paying race. Well, if you count the Masters, several in Wisconsin and also in Minnesota. It's just different sanctionings.
Yeah, that's just an example of it seems like there's a big special event literally every weekend of the year somewhere. So you got all your regular racing, but there's always a special. Now, we'll jump into some late models now. You saw some news on Lanigan.
Yeah, he's getting out of the Barry Wright house car, and he's going to be racing a rocket, getting back into a rocket where he had most of his success in his career. It seemed like his career kind of took a turn once he started building his own chassis. And, he back when he was racing rockets, you expected him to win almost any night that he was out there. And it's kind of changed since then. So that's interesting. He had a little bit of bad luck at Charlotte, was in an accident on the first night, pretty bad accident. And actually they took him to the hospital for precautionary reasons, and he had a concussion. So hopefully he's well on his way to getting better and, be tearing up the track next year in rockets.
Yeah, if you can't beat him, join him. And he's already proven that he can win races in a rocket. And right now on the national scene, it's hard you can't convince me that that's not the car to be. And Longhorns are good too, but those two seem to be number one, number two.
Yep.
But it's hard to argue against the success Rocket had this year. So I'm looking for him to kind of have a bounce back season in 2021. Now, speaking of some late model deal, this is I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring this up on there, but it's kind of neat, but it's kind of morbid. I don't really know, but did you see Jackie Boggs? Of course, he passed away here, a week or so ago. Did you see his coffin?
I did. Yes, it's a very, very high class looking coffin decked out in you know, his racing colors and everything. So I mean, it's a fitting tribute to him for sure.
I thought it was super cool. And jump on, Troy Powers has the 2020 page on Facebook. Jump on there because they got some pictures of it. I think there's a little video of it too. And at first, I'm like, I didn't know what to think when I saw it. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. But then you think about it, it's like everybody's kind of got the same old pine box, right? Or whatever. It's a wood box. And the guy's a racer, been a racer his whole life. Racing has been his life. So I thought it was kind of cool. It was something unique, something different. I thought it was kind of a cool touch there. And now, Bert, this is pretty cool. I may or may not have kind of talked smack a little bit about the crate late models a little bit. I kind of was prodded by Hot Carl to do that. So, just I'm blaming him, right? But I was out in South Dakota last week, and a buddy of mine, crate guy, he won the crate late model deal, limited late model deal over at Casino Speedway in Watertown. And he says, hey, let's go down to the Stinger Speedway tonight. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I announced it when I was over in Watertown, the Stinger Speedway, and I didn't even know what it was. Well, I get down there on Friday, and during the off season, right, as long as there's no snow on the ground, they throw some money up. It's like $500 to win. It's a go-kart track, so we're talking a small little town. This was really cool. White, South Dakota, okay, and a racing family, the Terrell family, Wade Terrell, he runs a street stock over there. He owns this deal. So it's a recreational oval track on pavement. They got these traction strips on there. Go-kart track. So like during the summer, you can go there with your buddies and buy a ticket and go race, and just kind of like you do at any recreational go-kart track throughout the country, right? Well, on this deal, you pay $30 and you can enter, and then they have heats and B mains and feature event, and they give $500 to the winner. And there was a pile of racers there, including the guy that actually won it, Blake Swenson. He's a late model guy. His dad, Chuck, is a former Wissota late model national champion a couple times in the Wissota Sprints. He was there. He didn't race this year because he had a kid, but he's racing next year. And then there was several other racers there, DJ Tash and Adam Brotherton and Ryan Berkey and Brady Mellendorf and Keith Conold and Levi Krieger. And, I mean, there was a bunch of them, right? A whole bunch of racers. So they had 20-some people, and DJ's like, dude, you got to do this. And I'm like, I didn't even want to go at first. I'm kind of like, I don't know. Well, I get down there, and I'm like, all right. And I'm like, I'll get in. And I went out in the first heat. What they did is they ran 3 sets of heat races, and then they gave 2 points for first. No, 3 points for first, 1 point for second, and nobody else got points. And the top 6 in points went into the A main, and then they had B mains to kind of fill it all in. I went out in the first heat race, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, am I terrible. I got like 5th. I'm like, I was horrible. I'm like, this is embarrassing. This is stupid, right? I'm like feeling dumb. I'm like, these guys are all like skinny little punks, and I'm this, not so skinny guy, and I'm like, this is bad. So then I get in the next heat, I run 3rd. I'm like, all right, starting to feel pretty good. Still needed a little something. I went out and I won the next heat. And then I started second row in the B main. I won that, so I'm in the A main, and I ended up might have used up Keith Conold a little bit to get into 4th, and I just missed the podium by 1. But I tell you, it was a hell of a lot of fun, man. Like there was a little girl there, and her dad is actually the announcer over at Jarek Stabler, I believe is his name. He's the announcer over at the Miller Central Speedway in Miller, South Dakota. His daughter was there. She must have been, I don't know, 8, maybe 9. And she did the announcing. It was cool. Like, she was sassy, and she's like, I thought you were faster than this. And she's like talking smack to people. And then there was Brady Mellendorf's kid. He's like 9 years old. And you can tell, like, he's got control and diamond it, and kind of fun to watch. I'm like, dude, like, if you race, let me know, because I'd like to help you out a little bit. Like, as he gets a little bit older. But it brought back, like, the one thing I'll say, all of those crate late model guys in that area, they got something called the Brant Mafia, right? And it's a whole bunch of crate late model guys, limited late model guys that are like one core group. You know how we talked about the street stock guys? You know how they kind of have that tight-knit group? They have that same deal with the limited late model deal over there. And it was really cool to see and be part of. And and be able to go race on that deal. And they do it every week. They had a double header. And if you're in the area, if you're watching this, if you get down to Watertown to the races or, north of Sioux Falls, look for White, South Dakota. It's like population 100, right? I'm talking a tiny blip on the map. You got to check that place out because it was a hell of a lot of fun.
Sounds like it. That I used to love racing go-karts. So, yeah, that would be a fun experience.
Yeah, some of my best childhood memories, Bert, was going to Cedar Lake. And we would, before or after Cedar Lake, we'd go over to the Apple Grand Prix in Somerset. And it was a road course deal. But, I made many, many laps at that place before I was old enough to drive a race car. And that kind of fueled it. And Provenzino up in Hibbing, I was talking to him and Jay Kittner and Tremberth and some of them guys. They had a little dirt oval up there where they did go-kart racing before they really got into racing. So having that for the community, that's such a good deal. It's pretty exciting to see what they have going on down there in South Dakota. So you got to check it out. And actually, if you jump onto Dirt Race Central's Facebook page, they had a Brant Mafia race, and I videotaped it. I did a little fun commentary in there or whatever. But I got a bunch of views, and they were all excited about it. But, yeah, I'm glad I went down there. And if I get down to South Dakota before the snow flies, I may go there again because it was a really good time. But I'm definitely going to, if I don't this year, I'm going to hit it up next year for sure. So, Bert, with that said, any closing thoughts? Any closing thoughts or anything in particular you're looking forward to rolling into this next week?
Well, I'm looking forward to following the Duel in the Desert and keeping up to date on how the Wisconsin drivers are doing. Because, like you said, even if they weren't from Eastern Wisconsin, if they were from Western Wisconsin, any driver from our area, you always root for them. You like to be a homer sometimes.
Yeah, what's weird is even if you don't always get, like when you're racing against them, if you don't even get along with them, you still kind of find yourself going, well, hey, that's one of our guys, right? So it's just the way it works. That doesn't happen in football because, I'm never going to go, you know what, Packers are in our division. I'm going to cheer for them. Sorry, Bert, that ain't happening. But with racing, that's a little different story because the racing family is pretty tight-knit. So with that said, hey, I had fun chatting about the week that we just had, a little bit of a rant there. I guess things frustrate me every once in a while, but it is what it is. But overall, we still love this sport, and we're excited about the future of it, regardless of what all happened this last week. We didn't get into that, and into any of that. We're still going to have dirt track racing. It is what it is. That's not going to end. It just isn't. So with that said, get out there, support your racetrack, jump online, catch a lot of racing. There's still a lot of racing to be had yet here in 2020, and we're partway through November. I'm in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan right now, and there's no snow on the ground. It was like 70 today, which is crazy this time of year. Never is 70 up there, but we could be having racing right now. In fact, I will say, did you see what Granite City, James Trantina, I never stop talking. I just don't. So James Trantina, new owner at Granite City Speedway, excited for that guy. Excited for him because he's big vision guy. But they had a practice night already. They put all new surface down on the track. They had a few cars come over there. Shane Howell let his pit guys kind of run it, a couple young folks, and it sounded like it went pretty good. They said the track surface was pretty racy. So, thumbs up to James. He's getting after it, I tell you. A lot of people like to hate on a guy like him because he's aggressive. He gets after it, but he takes charge. And flat out, that guy makes things happen. So I'm excited to see what Granite City Speedway in, I guess, Sauk Rapids, I think it's St. Cloud, Sauk Rapids, somewhere in that neighborhood, just north of St. Cloud, Minnesota. I'm excited to see what he has going because that guy has some big vision. And, they're running race cars on a racetrack, Bert, in November in Minnesota. Really? I never thought that would happen, but the weather worked out perfect. So hats off to James over there. Good luck to you. It's a lot of work. He's going to find that out, but I think he knows what he's getting into. He's a business guy, but good luck to him. And with SOTA board meetings coming up this week, Bert, they're not having them in person. That's going to be online. This guy is not going to be part of that. but I might have some news on that afterwards. So with that said, that's what we got. Episode 54 in the books. Episode 55 going to be coming up to you soon, and we're the one to go show. Like Puka says, Bert, go out and be your dream, right?
Yep, exactly.
All right, man. Hey, good chatting with you. We'll see y'all next week.
Yep.